Statistically, you're more likely to become a millionaire than to get six-pack abs. But in this video, I'm going to go through exactly how I lost 7.1 kilos in 103 days and got to 10% body fat. The best thing is, no matter where you are in your own individual fitness journey, you can take the three principles I'm going to speak through and implement them into your lifestyle. The three principles are, number one, your nutrition, number two, your training, and number three, the lifestyle sustainability aspect. Essentially, how to keep the weight off once you get there. And these are the three pillars for a metabolic priming method we implement with our clients, where we essentially help them drop body fat while maintaining muscle mass, and then once they lose the body fat, teach them how to maintain it. Okay, so around Christmas time I was consuming about 32 to 3,400 calories a day, which is in around my maintenance calories. So the first thing that I did was, when I started my cut, was reduce my calories to 3,000. I stayed at 3,000 for a week or two, but I found that the scale wasn't really moving in the direction that I wanted. So I reduced my calories further to between an average 2,500 to 2,700. 2,700 was my average calories, and that was perfect for me. Once I hit 2,700, I started seeing real changes where I was losing, on average, about 1 pound a week. Now, a lot of people, when they start their fat loss phase, they want to go really quickly. However, a sustainable fat loss rate will be anywhere from 0.5 to 1% reduction in your body weight per week, or 2 to 4% per month. So for me, losing on average a pound a week was absolutely perfect. This helped me essentially drop body fat while maintaining muscle mass. So some things that personally helped me was, number one, being in a 500 calorie deficit. Number two was that I just adjusted my portion slightly. So I used to consume maybe 300 grams of potatoes. I reduced that from 300 to 100 grams. I was having 100 grams of oats today. I reduced that from 100 grams to 50 grams. I didn't make any drastic changes. I just slightly reduced my portion sizes. And that essentially, I didn't really change the foods I ate, but it just helped me reduce my overall calorie consumption. Now, I was consuming a lot of protein because protein, first of all, helps preserve muscle mass, and number two, it would help keep me fuller for longer. So even though I was like 87 to 80 kilos now at the moment, my protein intake does not go below 200 grams per day. So some of my protein sources, they predominantly were all lean protein. So things like chicken, okay, things like white fish, things like egg whites. These have a really good calorie to protein ratio, which are quite high in protein, but yet quite low in calories. And furthermore, I had about 40 to 50 grams of fiber per day. The reason fiber is important is two things. Number one, it's brilliant for your digestion. And again, number two, it will help keep you fuller for longer. We always say with our members, the ultimate goal of losing body fat should be to eat as much food as possible while staying within your calorie limit. And a good way of doing that is having lots of lean source of protein and having lots of fiber. So I had lots of fruits, lots of veggies to help keep me fuller for longer. Now, one thing that personally helped me a lot was having some strategic refeeds where I increased my calories just to wash off some fatigue and just to make sure that I don't encounter too much metabolic adaptation. So metabolic adaptation is where your body essentially adjusts to being in a calorie deficit for too long. So for me, what I did was 1 or 2 days a week, I had a refeed where I increased my calories from, let's say, 2,700 to 3,200, and I typically did those in my 2 harder training sessions, which were Tuesday for legs and also Friday for legs. The benefit of doing this is that you're not going to encounter as much metabolic slowdown, which can happen if you stay at the same calorie deficit for too long. Now, when it came to working out, I did metabolic resistance training, which is something we coach our clients on. So yes, I like to lift, but I also like to run, I like to be mobile, and I just like to have a good base of fitness. So essentially I incorporate all of these things into my training. So for example, I was running upwards of 40 to 50 kilometers a week. I was strength training, I was doing some plyometric work, doing some speed work, and also doing some mobility work. It's kind of like being a jack of all trades, because in the past I made a mistake of just doing too much weightlifting. And while that was great for looking good and, building a bit of muscle, what I found was that my cardiovascular fitness was gone terrible, okay? I actually struggled to run a kilometer once upon a time. So I just felt that I didn't want to make that mistakes again, which is why I incorporated my MRT training, and that worked really well for me. Now, how I knew that I was making progress is because I was dropping body fat, my lifts in the gym were not decreasing at all. So for example, I actually hit some PRs over the last couple of weeks. I got 40 kilo weighted tricep dips for 6 reps. I got 180 kilos in the trap bar deadlift for 5 quite comfortable reps. Okay, I was able to run a PR 10K in, I believe it was 43 minutes, 40 seconds, or in that range there. So I was hitting some PRs, which I was absolutely delighted with. And again, I knew for me that a mistake I made in the past when I was doing the cut was that even though I was losing body fat, I was losing too much muscle. So the best indication if you're in a cut or you're in a fat loss phase, am I losing fat or am I losing muscle? If your strength in the gym is maintaining, it's not declining, but you're losing weight, okay, that's a really good indication that you are losing body fat and you're not losing muscle mass. Now, because of all the run that I was doing, it was very, very easy for me to get over 10,000 steps a day. In fact, my average step count on my watch was 15,000, which is quite high, but usually come the end of my workout, I already had 10,000 in, whether it's after doing a 5 or 6 kilometer run and going for a morning walk or an evening walk as well. Honestly, for anyone even just starting out, okay, you feel a bit overwhelmed with exercise, just start out by even walking more. You can burn anywhere from 30 to 50 calories just per 1,000 steps you take. So like, imagine that you're walking 10,000 steps a day. That can be anywhere from 300 to 500 calories you burn. So now that I've reached my ideal body composition, you're probably wondering, how do I plan to maintain it? So this is the final pillar for a one-on-one coaching program. It's called our Metabolic Reversal phase, where I essentially am going to reverse my metabolism, rebuild my metabolism, with the ultimate goal that I can gain a small bit of weight, increase my calories without gaining a whole lot of body fat. So how I'm going to do this is, first of all, I'm going to slowly and strategically increase my calories over time. A mistake a lot of people make is that once they finish a fat loss phase, okay, they increase their calories way too quickly. You go from having like 1,800 calories to 3,000 calories a day. That is a surefire formula to essentially regain all the weight that you work so hard to lose. So for me, what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to increase my calories by maybe 200 or 300. So go from 2,700 to 29 or 3,000. I'm going to keep track of my weight every single day, which I did during the fat loss phase. And then once I'm gaining anywhere from 1 to 2% of my body weight per month, that's my target KPI. So for example, at the moment I'm 80 kilos. So if I gain anywhere from, let's just say 0.3 to 0.4 kilos a week, then I know that I'm essentially on track to gaining a small bit of muscle without gaining a whole lot of body fat. Now, the reason metabolic reversal phase is important is because statistics show if you lose, let's say, 10% of your total body weight during a fat loss phase, you can encounter metabolic adaptation where your maintenance calories can reduce anywhere from 20 to 25%. So for example, imagine that your maintenance calories during a fat loss phase, prior to it, was something like 2,500. Come the end of it, your new maintenance calories could be somewhere like 2,000 calories. So imagine that you were doing your cut at, we'll say, 1,600 or 1,700 calories, and all of a sudden you think, I'm going to go back to my maintenance, okay? Your old maintenance calories are 2,500, but your new maintenance calories could be 2,000. So a reason a lot of people regain weight too quickly is because they don't encounter the metabolic adaptation, the adjustments that can occur to your maintenance calories. So you should aim to get back to your new maintenance calories as quickly as possible. So for me, I'm going to test and measure how I'm doing at 2,900. If I'm gaining weight too quickly, I'm going to scale it back. If I'm not gaining weight quickly enough, I can always increase it. Now, one thing that I find personally that works really well once I reach my ideal body composition is doing a protein refeed. This is essentially where I'm going to increase protein as a percentage of calories that I get on a daily basis. The reason this is important is because post-dieting, hunger can actually really increase, okay? You can just feel really, really hungry and just feel like your appetite would actually get bigger even though you're eating more food. So something that I found help for me personally is just have more protein throughout the day, okay? And that will just help wash off some hunger. Now, other things that are really important in the post-dieting phase is not making any drastic changes to your nutrition. So just like I mentioned when I was cutting weight, I just decreased my oats from, we'll say, 100 grams to 50 grams. Now what I'm going to do is do the opposite. So I'm going to increase them from maybe 50 to 75 to 100 and just essentially not really change the food I eat, just increase the portions gradually. The reason this is important is because especially in the first 4 to 8 weeks, okay, post-dieting, what a lot of people do is they start introducing foods they haven't had for weeks or even months. You start eating more chocolate, you start eating more takeaways, you start eating more sweets and so on. And just because once you get a taste of those foods, they can be very, very hard to resist. So I would not encourage you to make any major dietary adjustments to your food. I would essentially eat the same or similar foods you were doing in your fat loss phase, just increase the portions. Finally, one important thing I want to speak about is actually mindset, okay? A lot of people set goals, they want to get to, sub 15% body fat or lose 10 kilos of weight. But what you should really do is set standards for yourself, because you are not guaranteed to reach your goals, but you're 100% guaranteed to reach your standards. And if you've got higher standards for your fitness levels, okay, you're going to have some weekly and daily non-negotiables. So for example, I use myself as my own best example. I will not allow myself to get above 12% body fat, okay? That's my sweet spot for me, nothing higher than that, okay? If I ever feel my body fat is getting that high, I'm going to do a bit of a cut to reduce down. Unfortunately for a lot of people, they don't actually set standards for themselves, and then as a result of this, they gain a small bit of weight, okay? But they don't realize that they've been gaining 1 kilo, 2 kilos a year, okay? And that can add up over time. So you have to hold yourself to a high standard, and if you have some weekly non-negotiables, like even in the worst possible week, the busiest possible week at work, okay, I'm going to get in 4 weight sessions, I'm going to walk at least 8,000 steps a day, I'm going to implement the 80-20 nutrition principle. If you set those standards, you're more likely to achieve your goals. But if you have no standards for yourself, your standards are going to slip. You're just going to allow yourself gain weight, you're going to allow yourself to go from a medium to a large to an XL, and then before you know it, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, okay, you're like, how did this actually happen? Okay, that's what often people say to us in consultation calls. So set standards for yourself, and then once you establish those standards, have weekly non-negotiables that you need to implement even on the worst possible week. Okay, so they are all essentially the strategies that help me get to 10% body fat in 103 days. Now you're probably wondering, okay, this all sounds good, but how can I make it work for me? So if you are interested in one-to-one coaching where we'll essentially meet you where you're at the moment, go through your goals, go through your challenges, go through what you would have tried in the past, and essentially lay all of this out for you so there's no guesswork, so you know exactly what foods to eat, how much to eat, meal time and everything all included, how to train optimally for you and for your goals, okay? That's what we essentially offer at McLifestyle Fitness with our one-to-one online coaching. So if you are interested in working with us on a one-to-one basis so you can lose the body fat while maintaining muscle mass and keep it off long term, I'll post a link for a one-to-one application form below. If you fill it out, you just be asked a couple of questions and then schedule a call with me or a member of my team, and we can see if our coaching is a good fit for you.